Welcome back. The president of the Trade Union Congress of Namibia, Paulus Hango, said fishing industry workers are facing deteriorating working conditions, salary reductions, and possible job losses. Speaking at a media briefing in Walvis Bay, Hango said workers from several fishing companies are struggling with reduced working hours and prolonged periods without work. Joining us with more on this is the Secretary General of TUCNA, Mahongora Kavihuha. Good morning and welcome to the program, sir.
Good morning, and thank you very much for having me, and morning to the listeners as well.
Thank you. How are the working conditions affecting fishing industry workers and their families in Walvis Bay?
Thank you very much. I think you have heard last week when the president of TUCNA have made pronouncement on the deteriorating situations of working conditions in the fishing sector. The fishing sector, when it comes to employment, is facing uncertainty. And uncertainty, it is resulting in job insecurity. And job insecurity, it also resulting in vulnerable livelihood at home. So the situations of fishing sector, it need to be addressed as a matter of agency. And when we look at it at the face value, if we were in a very serious country like South Africa, one could demand the establishment of the Commission of Inquiry, which will look at all issues that are happening in the fishing sector. Because fishing sector currently is being used as a milking cow. It is being used as a springboard to whatsoever. So everyone has to step on the worker for that person to make it in life. And that have completely affected the workers in the fishing industry. And if you look at it, almost the high-ranking people, whether from opposition, whether from ruling party, wherever, they have a stake in the fishing sector, which you are expecting that if that was the case, at least the living condition of the worker could have been better. But now they are completely deteriorating, and there is no transparency in the fishing sector, and we need to work on it. That's why TUCNA, we are standing on to say that we need to demand the establishment of Commission of Inquiry that will be chaired by a completely retired independent judge who might not even come from Namibia or Zimbabwe, so that we can overwhelm the whole fishing sector and making sure that it starts contributing to the national purse. Because currently now, in fact, it is eating more from the national purse than gaining from it. Because if you have workers that have uncertainty, it means that they become burden on the physical of the country. And that's we have to avoid it, because job security, decent employment is an ingredient for economic growth. And what is happening in fishing sector, the situation is a recipe for disaster of economy. So we need to address that from that angle.
Mr. Kavihuwa, you spoke extensively about the long-term effects from an economic perspective and just really at national level. Now, if we have to just zero it down a little bit and really speak about the workers themselves, what long-term impact could these reduced working hours and salary cuts have on employees and their families?
Do you know that every person adjusts your livelihood towards your earning per month? Now, if you used to work for 8 hours, you used to get $10. You are going to get a renting of $5, and you remain with $5. Now, if that hours, just unexpectedly reduced to 4, now you are getting the $5. How your life will be affected? So the issues of household effects on the situations or caused by situations in fishing sector is a disastrous and is completely have a dire consequences on the daily life of the worker. That's why we are saying those that are having the fishing rights, they have to rethink, and those that are issuing the fishing rights also have to rethink, because the population is suffering. The country is not benefiting from it. It's one of the sectors that's highly characterized by corruption. I think second from the Ministry of Health. So it's very important that we need to see how do we arrest the situation and how do we bring trust within the sector. And by running away and by enlarging our benefits as a politicians from the fishing sector, it going to deteriorate the situation. Because any resource of this country should contribute to economic development, should not contribute to economic disaster. And that is what we are seeing now, that the approach is not good, and the ordinary workers are the ones that are suffering. There is no certainty, there is no job security, there is no, income security, and all those kind of things. So the workers are suffering huge. And as a labor movement, who's very serious progressive, who address matters, that's why we are demanding a solution to bring this whole fiasco to end. Is when the president has to and the parliament have to debate the issues of establishing a commission of inquiry in the fishing sector.
Now, Mr. Kavihua, in cases where a company opts to reduce salaries instead of retrenching workers, would you say this is any better?
There's nothing better. We just have to look at the face value and what is written in the book. If there is a redress, that's why we have been fighting to introduce unemployment benefit, so that in the immediate, at least these people can continue having some income. And then we look at that, how do we even marry the two? And what are the benefits that are there? And what are the remedies that are there if the salary to be reduced? The most important things, we should not encourage working poor. If you reduce someone's salary below the minimum wage, which is in fact the minimum wage currently now, it is way outdated. We need to, because this thing 5 years ago, the $18 was agreed upon. So what we are saying is that we should not create, and that is what we have in Namibia. We have many working poor, and that's why the country is the second highest unequal in the world. And that's why the issues of reducing the salary is uncalled for. As a union, we are not interested in that. Neither the retrenchment. The issue here is about addressing the problem. We should not treat the symptoms. We should treat the cause of the problem. The cause of the problem is the corruption. The cause of the problem is those that are benefiting on the expenses of the workers to the national resources. And that can only be unearthed through a commission of inquiry.
In what ways might some of the situations that you have described violate the provisions of the Labour Act?
That's why the Labour Act that's why we need the Labour Act to be reviewed properly. Because the issues of reducing of the salaries and whatsoever are not subject for negotiation. Neither the retrenchment. The law says the employer need to notify the unions 4 weeks in advance. So the law does not make that people should extensively and productively engage on the processes and come up with the remedies. So the softness of the language of the Labour Act in that instances is the one that is problematic. And that's why we have been calling upon the review of the labour regulations or labour policy in this country, which includes the labour law.
You spoke about really looking at the causes and not only resolving or looking at the symptoms. Now, what would you say are what responsibilities does the government have when granting fishing rights or quotas to companies?
For me now, the approaches that is there currently, it is rotten to the core. And that's why we are saying, before we move, we need to understand in depth what is happening in fishing sector. From a fish rod, because the fish rod is just a drop in ocean. We need to get into that sector, understand what is there, for us to propose concretely and everlasting solutions to the fishing sector. And then we move to mining. Because the issue, the way we are handling our national resources, we're not going to benefit this country at all. This country is very rich. We don't have a problem with money. We have a problem with poor leadership, lack of accountability, corruption. These three elements are the ones that we need to deal with it. And we deal with it when when we identify where they are so that we can deal with the cause, not the symptoms.
Should employment conditions be reviewed before fishing quotas or special permissions are granted? If so, why or why not?
The issue, the employment conditions based on what? The employment conditions are set very clear in Chapter 3 of the Labor Act. What are the basic conditions of employment? But when you go to fishing sector, they are doing opposite. And everybody knows that they're doing opposite. And the employee is employed by an employer this month. Next month, your salary reflects a different person. So the issue here is for us to understand what is happening in the sector. If we understand what is happening in the sector, when we can see that, where do we start addressing? It is the employment condition. It is the issuing of the license holders whatsoever. Is it operational? Is it that our fish is poorly paid in the international market? What could be addressed on the issue?
Many issues indeed. Now, Mr. Kaviwa, as we conclude our conversation, why does TUCNA believe meetings between government officials and company management should include unions and shop stewards?
One thing you should know is that we have a national constitution. If you go to Article 95D, it's very clear that all the international instruments that are ratified by Namibia, it become integral part of our law. They must be followed. We have ratified Convention 144 of the ILO that deal with tripartism. So our involvement together with workers, employers and government, it is not something that we need to beg for. It is an instrument, integral part of our law. It must be implemented. You cannot discuss about workers in absence of the workers. And you cannot discuss about the national resources in absence of the Namibian people. And workers are Namibian people. So it's very important that what we are demanding that they should be on the table, it is not something for their mercy. It is a legal requirement that must be happening. And we call ourselves a law-abiding nation. In some instances, this law, it is there to catch the weak, but the heavyweight, they are there to tear it apart. And that's why even including the government, they make decisions without consulting the people. But we have ratified Convention 144, that is social dialogue. Why do we ratify things? Why do we have to wait resources on tabling these things in Parliament, then to be taken to the President to sign if we don't implement it? So it's very important that all these things need to be dealt with and see how best we can move.
Now, Mr. Kaviwa, we've unfortunately run out of time, but thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you very much. And you are always welcome to speak on the issues of fishing sector. And we are standing on that. We are demanding a commission of inquiry to be established in order to unearth what is happening in that sector. For now, it's very rotten.